A human baby is the most defenseless creature on Earth. It can't walk, it can't crawl, it can't even hold up its own head. A baby horse stands within hours. A baby chimp grips its mother's fur the second it's born. A human baby can do nothing for a year. Now imagine that baby crying in a cave 100,000 years ago. Every predator within a mile is listening. Every fever is a death sentence. Every winter could end the bloodline. Half of all babies died before they turned 5. So how did any survive? Your ancestors faced 4 specific threats that should have wiped out the human race. They invented 4 defenses against them. One is still hardwired into your baby's nervous system right now. One is so dark, modern parents don't believe it ever happened. And the last one, discovered in a 100,000-year-old grave, proves something nobody expected about prehistoric love: the stakes. Let me show you what your ancestors were up against. Today, less than 1% of babies die in their first 5 years. In prehistoric times, that number was over 50%. In some tribes, 70%. The average ancient mother buried 6 of her children. 6! Imagine that. Imagine the math required for the human species to keep going. Every birth was a 50-50 coin flip. Every cry was a target on a predator's map. Every cough could spread through the tribe. Every winter could starve the youngest. And every baby, every single one, had to be carried, watched, and protected every second of every day for years. So what were these 4 threats? And what did your ancestors do that we've completely forgotten? Threat number 1, the predator problem. A crying baby is a beacon. Leopards can hear an infant from 400 meters away. Hyenas hunt by sound. Snakes are drawn to vibration. In a world without walls, a screaming newborn was a dinner bell for the whole tribe. So how did mother stop that? Through the defense I called the Hush Reflex. Watch what happens right now when a modern mother picks up a screaming baby and holds it skin to skin against her chest. The baby's heart rate drops. Its breathing slows down. The crying stops within seconds. Scientists call this the transport response. And it's not learned, it's programmed. Your baby's nervous system is running a 300,000-year-old survival reflex. The instant it's lifted and carried, it goes silent. Because for hundreds of thousands of years, a baby that stayed quiet while being carried was a baby that didn't get the family eaten. A baby that kept crying got everyone killed. The crying babies didn't pass on their genes. Only the quiet ones did. You are descended from babies that knew when to shut up. But staying quiet wasn't enough. They also had to eat. And that was the second problem. Threat number 2, the milk problem. A human baby cannot eat solid food for years. It needs milk, constantly, around the clock. But there was no formula, no bottles, no clean water safe enough for an infant. There was no cow's milk. There was nothing, except the mother. If she stopped producing, the baby died. There was no plan B. So what did they do? A defense I call the 4-year lock. Ancient mothers breastfed for 3 to 5 years straight, not because they wanted to, because there was literally no other option. And here's where it gets clever. Constant nursing did something modern science only discovered recently. It suppressed ovulation. As long as the mother nursed every few hours, her body wouldn't get pregnant again. It was nature's birth control, wired directly into her biology. Tribes spaced babies 3 to 4 years apart this way. Any closer, the older child starved. Any further, the bloodline shrank. Her body did the math without her ever knowing it was doing math. And when a child finally needed more than milk, mothers chewed up tough roots and meat with their own teeth, then pushed the soft mush directly into the baby's mouth. Some anthropologists now think this is where human kissing came from, not romance, feeding. But even with constant milk and constant carrying, babies still died. Why? Because of the third threat, and only one person in the tribe could stop it. Threat number 3, the death problem. Babies didn't just die from predators or starvation. They died from fevers nobody could diagnose, from poisonous plants their mothers couldn't identify, from wounds nobody knew how to treat, from 100 small mistakes that experience could have prevented. So who saved them? a defense I call the grandmother shield. Here's something strange about human biology. Most mammals die shortly after they stop reproducing. There's no evolutionary reason to keep a body running once it can't pass on genes. But human women live for decades after menopause. Why? In 1997, anthropologist Kristen Hawkes studied the Hadza people of Tanzania, one of the last hunter-gatherer tribes. She found that grandmothers were the hardest working members of the entire tribe. They dug roots that children couldn't reach. They identified which plants healed and which killed. They watched the babies while mothers nursed the newborns. Tribes with active grandmothers had babies surviving twice as often. She called it the grandmother hypothesis. Menopause isn't a breakdown, it's a strategy. Evolution selected for grandmothers because the children of involved grandmothers lived. You are alive right now because 300,000 years ago, an old woman digging tubers in the African sun refused to die. But the final threat wasn't physical at all, and the defense against it is the most human thing your ancestors ever did. Threat number 4, the memory problem. Even when a baby was carried, fed, watched, and protected, sometimes she still died, and the parents had to keep going, to survive, to raise the next one, to not lose themselves in grief. The threat wasn't a predator or a sickness, it was forgetting the one you lost, letting their existence disappear because remembering hurts too much. In a world where 50% of children died, the temptation to numb yourself, to stop loving fiercely must have been enormous. But that's not what they did. The defense I called the flower grave. In 1976, archaeologists in Israel found a 100,000-year-old burial. Inside it lay a young woman who had died in childbirth. Beside her, her newborn. Around them, small flowers, placed by hand. Beads drilled one by someone who took the time. Stones arranged in a pattern. We were told for years that prehistoric humans were savage, brutal, indifferent, that losing a child meant nothing to them, that they couldn't possibly love the way modern parents love. That grave proved otherwise, because somebody 100,000 years ago held a dead baby in their arms and decided she deserved flowers. The instinct to mourn a child is older than writing, older than agriculture, older than civilization. It is the oldest love we know, and it's the reason you exist. Because mothers who loved fiercely tried again. Mothers who grieved deeply kept going. The babies that lived were born to people who refused to stop caring, no matter how many they buried first. The modern parallel. Now look at yourself. You'll never lose a child to a leopard. You'll never bury 6 of your kids. You'll never watch a fever take your daughter because nobody knew what fevers were. But your baby still goes silent the second you pick her up. Because the carry response is still wired into her nervous system. You still nurse on demand without knowing why, because the 4-year lock is still inside your body. You still call your mother when you don't know what to do, because the grandmother shield is still your last line of defense. And when you hold a sleeping child without thinking about it, you are using instincts that kept babies alive when nothing else could. You inherited every single defense your ancestors invented. You just don't call them defenses anymore. You call them parenting. Look at any sleeping baby, anywhere on Earth right now. That baby is alive because 100,000 years ago, a mother learned to silent crying before predators came, because she nursed for years without knowing her body locked, because a grandmother dug tubers in the sun so the children would eat, because someone held a dead baby and placed flowers around her and decided that love was worth the pain of remembering. Half of all babies died once, but your ancestors held the other half harder. They carried them every second. They fed them everything they had. They protected them with every member of the tribe. And when they lost one, they buried her with flowers and tried again. You are not the descendant of the strongest. You are the descendant of the ones who refuse to stop caring. The next time you hold a child without thinking, remember the price someone paid for that to feel ordinary. Subscribe for more stories of the people who came before. And tell me in the comments, what's the one thing you'd never let your baby sleep without?